A Real Pain, directed by Jesse Eisenberg, is the story of two cousins who travel to Poland to reconnect with their recently deceased grandmother and their Jewish heritage. So, me and Cam got to see this movie on, what was it, Friday? I think it was Friday night. And we're going to talk about it together. So, yes, my tripod is still broken, and I still have not found a replacement, so we're doing this style again. But it seems, you guys seem to like it, so I guess it's not really a problem. And we have Cam joining us. So you want to say hello?
Hello, welcome to our video.
Yeah. So I've known about this movie for a little bit now. I think it premiered at TIFF, or TIFF or Cannes. I can't remember which one. And it looked really interesting. I think Jesse Eisenberg being behind the camera and writing it was definitely a factor in drawing me in, and also, Kieran Culkin being involved. I think it kind of had the blueprints for a really pleasant and emotional movie.
My turn?
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. I thought it was really beautiful and really good, and would you say it's like a accurate comparison, like Little Miss Sunshine, kind of just like a movie about sadness and like heartbreak, and how it, just how like everybody is in pain in their own way. And I really liked how they used like remembrance and this very solemn and like heart-wrenching experience of like going on this, what were they on, like a,
I think it was a remembrance tour.
Yeah, like a very hard thing to do for the two main characters when it's very obvious they're straight on their relationship and they hadn't seen each other in years or whatever. It was a very loaded movie. Yeah. Lots of strong themes, I guess.
I shared the same sentiment here as Cam. I really enjoyed the movie. I think that the heart of it is really what you're there for, and it not only displays its heart on its sleeves. It's not ever afraid of going to these uncomfortable places emotionally with the characters, and I think that is its strongest suit, because yes, it's a little bit conventional in places. Yes, it can be fairly predictable at times, but also it's not afraid to not leave you overly happy. It's not afraid to really dig into how these relationships get strained, how they compare to your own lives, how your heritage and where you came from can really affect generations after. And I think that going to those uncomfortable places and exploring them felt very personal for the filmmaker, but it's also something that we can all share in, even if you're not Jewish, even if you don't have any ties to Poland or anything like that. You can connect to a certain aspect of this movie, whether that be the cousins relationship or a relationship with the past. I think this movie is mainly about sadness, trauma, generational trauma, but also your relationships with those closest to you and who are also affected by the exact same trauma.
I feel like it was very much a movie that wasn't afraid to be uncomfortable and leave you uncomfortable. And it was so dynamic in the way that, I found myself sitting there like grinning, watching a very heartfelt, silly moment. And then, in the same minute, it's a horribly uncomfortable, scene that really leaves you thinking, and I think that's hard to do in a movie without either being obnoxious or being, just a really hard watch. So I liked that. And I think just Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin are amazing actors, and they really carried every actor in the movie was really awesome and just played their role really well.
I agree, and I want to kind of jump off that point and talk about how great Kieran Culkin really was, because
So good.
absolutely with Jesse Eisenberg, like he kind of, I know, he wrote the movie, so he wrote this to his strengths, and while he gave a very nuanced and excellent performance, especially there's a specific scene that we won't spoil here, but it has to do with them going out to dinner, and Kieran Culkin has like not like a meltdown, but he's having a moment, and Jesse Eisenberg kind of is explaining to the group how he feels about all of it. It is so powerful, and really some of his best work I've ever seen. Gotta, give a tip of the hat to Jesse Eisenberg for that scene specifically. You want to say something?
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say yes.
Yeah.
I think this movie really speaks to like the quietest parts of grieving and like, depression and mourning and those kind of things. Like so many scenes I found myself being like, wow, like that is so real,
Yeah.
and just with the acting and the writing and how it all is portrayed, it's just so it makes you uncomfortable, but it simultaneously is so familiar, especially with the cousins relationship, like like how dynamic it is, where with family you can be cracking up and things can be lighthearted, but there's always that, especially in tumultuous relationships, that like reminder of shit's rough.
Yeah, that is a very well told point, Cameron.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of
I
course.
thought of it myself.
But yeah, I completely agree. I think that it deals with those awkward, like up and down moments so very well. And a lot of that has to do with Kieran Culkin's performance. He portrays that specific kind of person so well. How he's very kinetic and very, he has a bunch of tics that he keeps doing. I think that he really embodies that kind of person where it's like on the surface, he's very lively, energetic. He loves talking to people, and he's very honest and observant. But, the more time you spend with him, and especially once you realize that, just deep sadness kind of almost bubbling out, you start to see the different layers of this character, and he just plays them all beautifully. Because, it could, like Cam was saying a little bit earlier, it could very easily come off as obnoxious. It could very come off as like overly sappy, but it just felt real. It felt like we were spending time with two real life cousins for, how long was the movie? Like an hour and a half? Yeah, for around roughly 90 minutes. And we don't, you don't get to experience a lot of those kinds of movies recently. I feel like they're becoming a bit more of a rarity.
I do also find that in a lot of cinema, there are a lot of really misconstrued representations of mental illness that, people talk about, like, and simultaneously people praise a lot of movies that are really great representations. And I feel like this is definitely one of them with Kieran Culkin's performance and his character. Like, I think it's a great representation of, I would say, bipolar disorder, or at least depression, just like, how it affects others and how it really comes out in certain situations in his like behaviors and stuff. So it was really interesting to view something that I feel like a lot of times is really misinterpreted.
It's like the right word.
Yeah.
You're
in
doing
media.
great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the best part about this movie is that it isn't a huge downer the entire time. Like,
Yeah.
It leaves you feeling really happy and glad you got to experience this with the characters, because like, one, and obviously neither of us are Jewish and we can't really speak to that perspective, but it felt, very earnest. It felt like it was coming from such a place of love for Jewish people and wanting to tell such a uniquely Jewish perspective. And I think that it was handled in a way, that it was never like overly a downer. It was never like trying to, trying to be a sob story. It was trying to just portray real history and how it affects people even to this day. down to very specific and interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the perfect way to kind of represent that kind of stuff. And also, like Cam was just saying, Kieran Culkin's character, you feel really awful for him, and you can sympathize with him so much. But again, it's not looking down on him. It's never like a after school special being like, oh, this is what you need to watch out for. It's just telling the truth. Even if obviously this movie is completely fiction, it's portraying these things in such a truthful and I guess sympathetic manner, that anybody can connect with it.
Yeah. With a lot of love, I think.
Absolutely.
Everybody, like in the movie, the two cousins are on this, on this week or 2 week long tour with like a group of people, and there's a lot of like love. Like they're all like very kind to each other, and it makes you feel good. It's very nice.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. Cameron, do you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna get in our ratings now. I really loved the movie. I think it's definitely one of my favorites of the year. I think even now, talking about it with Cam, I'm liking it more and more as I think about it.
Yeah.
And I am going to give A Real Pain a light 4.5 out of 5.
I am going to give it the same rating, a 4.5 out of 5. I think I give 4.5 out of 5s to movies that I find to be like basically perfect. Just I don't have that like rewatch value, of like this is a nostalgic movie for me. It's going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah,
that's what gifts 5s.
Yeah, and like not everything can be a 5. Obviously, there are movies that I think are significantly better than A Real Pain, but I think that A Real Pain is certainly something special. And it goes above that like 4 out of 5 range where it's like, yeah, it's great, but it's kind of just like your average really good movie, where this movie does things that no other movie is doing. Well, and it's not perfect. Like I would obviously, give it a 5 out of 5 if I thought it was perfect. Excuse me. But it's not.
Your excuse.
But I do think it warrants that like upper tier level grade because it is really something special.
I also do feel like there is a serious lack of movies like this right now that are like original and real and well done and self-respecting. And so when there is something like this, I feel like it really needs to be like, shouted from the mountains or the hilltops or whatever, like, watch this movie, it's so good, because this movie deserves like an Oscar. Or
especially the performances.
Yes. Well, I have a question.
Go for it.
Kieran Culkin, was he the one that had like a really hard childhood? And
well, so they all did, but Macaulay is the one that you're thinking of. Right. He was the one in Home Alone and stuff. Kieran Culkin is Wallace from Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah. I like him.
Yeah, he's great. Because
I was gonna say, like, it's also really great to see him, in the movies and stuff, because it almost to me is like a personal, thing. But I'm sure it is. Like, anybody that can really put their heart and soul into a performance like that, I feel like there has to be some truth in it.
Yeah.
At least in terms of like, you really have to feel that. So.
Yeah.
Snaps for him.
Alrighty, that is our review for A Real Pain. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with us.
Thank you so much for watching. Listening.
Well, I mean, they're technically still watching.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have pictures and videos.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to kind of quickly talk about while I have you here, Cameron.
Me.
I wanted to do something at the end of every month where we go through the movies that we watched that month and just spoilers, talk freely about all of them and give our thoughts on them. Because, I want to talk about more than just new releases with you guys, and obviously I watch more than just new releases, so I think it'll be a good time to give both of our opinions about it.
100%.
In this kind of laid-back format.
Yeah, and I'll hold you to it, because you always forget to do that.
I know. Alrighty, that is it. We are signing off now.
Can we sing a song? Can we harmonize and go, thank you so much for watching?
I don't want to sing on microphone, but anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, Jake.
Alrighty. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye bye.